All right, good morning. I'm talking this morning about this idea of the healing light. My inspiration comes from the work of Emma Curtis Hopkins, who was one of our teachers. And so this is what she says. She says, the highest possible doctrine is refusing to judge after the sight of the eyes and the hearing of the ears. So what Emma is pointing to there is this idea that in New Thought, we are not going to be led exclusively by what our five senses take in. That there is a spiritual truth, a spiritual reality that exists beyond these five senses that we're so used to working with. And that spiritual reality is actually the dimension that we say is the most true, real thing about each of us, about our lives. So it says in the Bible that thou shalt decree a thing and it shall be established unto thee. And Emma goes on and says, when men are cast down, they shall say, there is lifting up. So immediately she begins by giving us instruction in how to respond when things seem to be pushing us down. She tells us, what we have to say is, I'm lifted up. I'm above this. This is not going to determine my experience here. So we declare a truth about things, and it says, because the truth is true now as much as it ever will be. This is what I think we don't realize, is that people think, I'm not really ready to declare the truth about my health or this particular physical condition because I need to start eating right and then I'll declare the truth about my health. No, the truth about your health is the truth right now. The truth about your relationships, the truth about your finances, the truth doesn't change, right? Now, on the earth plane, we change a lot, right? We really, really change, well, we're a lot. But the idea in New Thought is that heaven, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heaven is here and now, so you can and I can declare the truth about the things in our life. Emma says that it is the law of mind as related to life that if we positively refuse to think certain thoughts, we shall never experience certain conditions in the body. So, when I talk with people, so often I hear people tell me what they don't want, what they hope never happens, what their biggest fear is, what their worst case scenario is. Rather than focus on what they choose to be creating, rather than focus on sharing the consciousness that they want to be stepping into. It's very easy when something is going on in our life, when things are not going well. Don't we all know who to call to get agreement? Yeah, sure we do. It's the truth, We know who to call, and somebody's going to say, oh, you're right, you poor, dumb, stupid, sick thing. Oh, yes. Life is horrible for you. No wonder things don't work for you, right? So that's sort of the wrong direction, calling those people. What Emma, if Emma had a phone, I believe, because she was writing at in the 1800s. But what I believe that she would encourage us to do is surround ourselves with people who are going to be in agreement with us for a greater truth about us. So when you say to somebody, oh, I'm trying to have healing in my life in this particular area, and they go, oh, that's ridiculous. Nobody's going to heal. They are not in your corner, okay? So just be gracious and move away. And don't share unless somebody is absolutely standing with you in consciousness, that they're on your behalf. So this is what Emma says we must say. She says, I hereby cast out of my mind all such thoughts as have kept me from healthy judgment, from being healthy, and prosperity. Cast out of your mind all that thinking that, oh, I'm so sick, my grandmother had this, my father had this, now I have. You can't get rid of that. She says there's no place for that, because that stuff is what absolutely obstructs the flow of God's healing light within us. So everybody has stuff. If you're here on earth, you have stuff. Okay? I haven't met anybody who doesn't have some stuff. By stuff, I mean something that they're working on healing. We all have it. There's some relationship or some health thing or some money thing or some creative expression. I think it's actually the ticket to get into this hotel. Yeah, that you had to have stuff to get in here. So it could be emotional, mental, physical, psychological, certainly spiritual. The only place, though, we teach in the Science of Mind where a restriction or a limitation could be, the only place the restriction of the healing power of God could be is in us. It's never that God has the power and God's holding it back. You know, it is never that. If it's not flowing, it's because there is limitation, there is restriction in us. So what I would ask us to think about this week is, what are the walls in me? Where are the places where I'm not willing to embrace others, perhaps because they're different or because they see things differently, they view things differently, they speak differently. Look, I get it. Not everybody is going to become your best friend. You know, with about 7 billion people on the planet, not everybody can come to dinner, okay? I mean, if you can have them all to dinner, I want to see your dining table. That just sounds amazing to me, you know? But we should have, I think what we aspire to is to have this level of personal high regard. Nothing but an energy of love emanating out from our hearts to embrace all people. That's the goal. You know, in Science of Mind, we often talk about this idea that we could be separate from God. And that really is what all problems come down to. In any area of my life where I think I'm separate from God, I'm going to struggle in that area. I'm going to have difficulty in that area. Now, the big picture is you cannot be separate from God because you are inextricably one with God already. But we all have free will, and we all have choice, and we have these amazing imaginations, and we can really imagine some really funky bobo stuff for ourselves about how separate we are from God and life and other people. You know, so the human personality, it seems to me, loves the story. You know the story. That sad story, the story of how you were done wrong to, the story of how they ran off with everything, whatever that story is, right? And all the machinations, all the components of that problem, we know who to share that with, who will get agreement from. But I'm here to tell you that honestly, that is not serving you. It doesn't serve me, you know, because every time that story gets reinforced, what happens is that we continue to be affected and we continue to be limited by it. You know, people say, well, what can you do? You're only human. And it's like, no, you're not. You are not only human. In fact, human is the smallest aspect of your being, we believe. We believe that you are this big, infinite, immortal, eternal, spiritual being. You are consciousness. And consciousness that you are happens to have a little old body right now because that's what you need to get into this theme park, right? That you get to have a body here on earth for a while. So it's important, you know, it's important what we identify ourselves with. And my encouragement to us is to identify ourselves with the Spirit, with the consciousness, with the love that is within us, because that's what we become more of. If I can constantly identify myself with my past and the mistakes I've made and the things that I think have been done to me in my story, you know, there's no chance I'm going to be risen up from that. You know, the idea of salvation is not, first of all, nothing out here is going to save us, okay? No person, no spouse, no politician, no anything outside of us is going to save us. What is going to save us is in here. It is an internal thing. So, you know, if you think that you're just a body, right, and say, oh, I'm only human, I'm just this body, that puts a lot of stress on you, because the fact is, you know, you're much, much more than the body. You are this infinite spiritual being. And thinking that you are just a body is like saying into the universal mind, I'm small, I'm limited, and that is what contributes to an environment where illness can flourish. If you think that all you are is this physical body, you will not find relief or healing in the world. You know, so salvation from any limitation or negative or negation, where that takes place is in our thinking. So an error like a dis-ease, whether it's a dis-ease in our bank account or a dis-ease in our body, did not come from nowhere. We say in Science of Mind all the time, if something is so, there's a reason why it's so. So my mind is an integral part of that condition appearing. Now, maybe I didn't think that particular thing specifically, but we all understand how our mind can be a fertile place for an idea to grow. Our mind can be a fertile place for an idea to start to take root. We sort of make it welcome, and we maybe water it a little bit, and we don't pull it out like it's a weed. We just sort of allow it to, let's see what's going to happen with this. Right? So when I say one problem, and that problem is that we believe that we're separate from God, I guess another way I could say that is we're separate from love in that area of our life. That if my thoughts, if my heart and mind were filled with nothing but love in that area of my life would work a lot better. So to heal anything that is an outer manifestation, first, Science of Mind teaches us, I have to go within. I have to heal my mind first. My thinking about things, my believing about things, my speaking about things, it has to be in alignment with a greater spiritual truth. Just because we call it disease, and it could be any disease. It could be alcoholism. It could be a physical disease like cancer or something like that. Doesn't mean that my mind was not involved in that from the very beginning. There were things that I was probably believing about myself. There were things that I was believing about life, things that I was believing about other people, things that I perhaps believed were inevitable, right? And so that sort of fertilizes the soil of my mind and contributes to creating that environment where dis-ease can show up. So to heal any dis-ease, like I said, whether it's in your bank account or in your body temple, begins with healing our mind. That's where it has to start for us as students of the science of mind. We believe, in what each of us believe in our life, it seems to me is true for us, right? Because it's done unto you as you believe. And so, yes, God can work through all of it, through everything. But what I must be released from is my belief that the external realm, this outer world of manifestation, is the ultimate reality. It's not. Now, Ernest Holmes says in our textbook, he says, take the pill and take the prayer. Right? And maybe at some point, if you keep working on your consciousness, you maybe not need the pill in the future. But in the meantime, take the pill and take the prayer and know that there's only one power, one presence, one activity that's working through whatever it is you take. So I would never tell you, we believe in spiritual healing. You don't need to take anything the doctor I would never tell you that. No, but I will say this, that if you're going to take something from the doctor because we want to equate everything that we do with the one power, then, you take that vitamin or mineral supplement or whatever you do, and before you take it, you hold it in your hand and you say, I know God is the only power working through this for my highest and greatest good. And then chug it and move on. That's it. You don't have to have any big song and dance about it or anything like that. But don't kid yourself and think the power is exclusively in the pill. The mind that created the pill or the medicine or whatever we're going to call it, the mind that created that was connected with the mind of God. And know that that same mind of God that came up with this medication is the mind that's working through you for your highest and greatest expression of life. To hold that pill in your hand and say, God, I hope this does some good. We'll see. Oh, all those side effects, I hope those don't happen to me. Oh, God, It's just amazing to me, the side effects, You watch those commercials on TV? Is it me, or does it seem like in about the last 2 years, the side effect of everything is death? I think it's a very negative spin on things, I have to say. So, in the science of mind, we take responsibility for our thoughts, right? And this is how we take responsibility for our life experience, right? It's not like, well, if my life experience got better, it would be easier for me to think in a life-affirming way. No, you think in a life-affirming way, and your experience in the world will certainly get better. The Buddha said, you achieve so little because you have an undisciplined mind. I threw that book away when I read that. That really upset me. Only to have to go and order another copy of it, It's almost like our mind is divided. Our mind is like a house divided, and there is this one part that knows God and truth and love and unlimited and light and no darkness and all that. And then there's this other part that is deeply, deeply enmeshed, even attached to the world. But let's be very clear. God did not make disease, okay? It's not like God says, well, I don't know, I just got to do something about population, so well, I'll make a new disease. You know, that'll help population control. What contributes to disease? Well, if God didn't make it, where did it come from? Well, the collective human consciousness did. How do I know that? Because God only creates loving manifestations. God does not create the things we think of as being problems. Therefore, the error condition that we're dealing with is like like a mirage. You know when you would drive on the freeway in the old days when there weren't as many cars and it was hot and it looked like way ahead of you on the freeway there was water? You know, when you could like close your eyes and shake your head and blink to try to make it go away, but it still appeared. It was so convincing. Like when you got to it, water was going to splash all over your car, but there was no water there. It was just a mirage. Right? So the truth for us, the truth is that you are the Spirit of God's love made manifest on earth. The other stuff you think about yourself, the other stuff that people have said to you, it's a mirage. It is not true. It's not real. There's no there. There. I said it, right? Because the real spiritual you, the real you, is incapable of illness. The real you is incapable of lack. The real you is incapable of being lonely or anything like that, you know? So what has to be healed? My thinking. And where do I begin? Sometimes it's very simple. God, heal my thinking. You know, and now I don't know about you, but some days I just think some really crazy stuff. And I think, wow, after all this work, these things still come in? What has to happen? God, heal my thinking. That's what I'm open to. So Carl Jung says that we all have a personal memory of all that has ever happened. That we all share a deep personal memory of everything that's ever happened. How can that be? Because there's one mind. Ernest Holmes teaches us that. So what this means is we were all there when Moses crossed the Red Sea. That we were all there when Jesus fed the multitudes. So I love the idea that whatever anybody else has done is potential within all of us right now. It's not like somebody else got it, but you didn't. That's just not true. All right? So whether you want to, I don't know, play the tuba or write a book or have a physical healing or healing of a relationship, if anybody has ever done that, so think about what you're dealing with right now. Whether it's healing a difficult relationship or manifesting enough money or healing something in your body temple, has anybody ever done that? Yes, probably. If somebody at any time ever has done that, that means that that is available to us. It's available to us. Now, will we do the work within ourselves, within our own consciousness, to make that healed experience welcome? Well, we shall see. But if anybody's done it, it shows us we could potentially do the same thing. You know, when we're exposed to like the vibrational frequency of something great in any form, you know, I mean, I think that's really important. So a couple of years ago, I subscribed to a series at UCLA where I would go and I would hear different authors, and I could read their books on my own, right? We all get that. You can just buy the book and read it. But there is something about going and hearing an author read from their own book. You know, if you've ever had that experience, because there's a lot of juice in it. You know, they really know of where they speak because they wrote it. The ideas came through them out onto the page, right? And so I would always leave and be very, very inspired by that. Now, you need to know, I don't like to write. I struggle with a postcard. I stopped sending them years ago. You know, it's just too much. It's just too, you know, but I know other people have that gift. And so if you want, it seems to me if we want to do something, it can only serve us to read and watch, to see, to hear about other people who have done a similar good thing. because it's reinforcing what's possible. It's reinforcing what's available to us. So I think, yes, we can all experience different error conditions, you know, and part of how that happens is, I believe what contributes to it is that we are not being as loving as we could be. So here it is again, love is the key. You know, now, in the science of mind, we don't teach sin in a way that perhaps other teachings do. For us in science of mind, all a sin is an error, right? And another way to look at it is that you've missed the mark, right? So when we're not loving, we've just missed the mark. We haven't hit the target, right? And so that, I believe, is one of the things that really contributes to being an environment where off conditions, where dis-ease could take place. So the big picture is us not loving actually really messes up with our whole survival. Us not being really loving. See, I'm going to tell you, I think if love were the priority, everybody on earth would be fed. Yeah, everybody would eat. Absolutely, they would. In fact, I'm going to tell you, I think we need to give the job to women, because women have been figuring out how to feed people when they had nothing to do it with for thousands of years. And so I think we should just say, you know, we're going to form a global committee of women, and they're just going to know instinctively how to do it. Because I remember when I was a kid, I didn't know that we didn't have any money. When I was really little, I did not know, because my mother could always come up with like a cup of flour and, I don't know, an egg, and we thought, she would say, we were being crazy upside down people. We were going to have breakfast for dinner. I didn't know it's because my parents were broke, you know. But even broke, they could pull off a waffle, you know. And as a kid, that was fantastic. Oh my God, we're crazy upside down people. We're having breakfast for dinner. So they actually made it fun. Anyway, I digress. It's probably because I really want a waffle. That's why. Okay. You know, in the Bible, it says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Well, you know, people were healed in the presence of Jesus. And Ernest Holmes talks about this in our textbook. So a couple of things are happening here when people were healed in the presence of Jesus. One, when Jesus looked at you, Jesus did not look at you as your story or your sickness or all the symptoms or anything like that. And when he didn't see you that way, the people who were with him did not see you that way either, right? So real healing is not just about making the symptoms go away, right? And so often, I know that's what people want. That's what they're really praying for. They don't want to be healed. They want their symptoms to go away. That's like praying for other people to change. You know, it's just not really that effective, is it? It doesn't really solve the problem. So, because what happens is if people just pray their symptoms away, they go back to being the same person they were before. And being the person they were before, with the thinking and the believing and the behaving the way they were behaving, that's what was the fertile environment for the problem in the first place. So yes, absolutely, we're supposed to be changed by the process of whatever it is that is confronting us in our life right now. I think the point is we have to be different. We have to allow ourselves, we have to allow our minds to be completely changed. You know, if you've ever been in class with me, I always teach this kingdoms of consciousness thing. And to move from kingdom 2 to kingdom 3, if you haven't been in class with me, come to class and I'll teach you this. But to move from kingdom 2 to kingdom 3, it requires great humility. And you know, I've traveled a lot, and one of the things I've noticed is that in a lot of the great churches in Europe, they have a very high threshold. So you have to really lift your leg way up and bend your knee before you step in. The other piece is that same doorway tends to be really low. You know, you've been to these churches? So it's sort of like there's an enforced humility before you enter into spirit time, before you get in. You have to bend your knee and bow your head. And I think just every time I do that, I think, okay, that's a great reminder of maybe perhaps I don't know everything. Yes, okay, maybe I should be open to a power greater than me that does. truth is, you are a child of God. And no form of darkness in the outer world has power over you. Okay? Something significant has to change in us before it can change in any laboratory or any relationship or in our bank account. It always starts here. I know this is the hard part about science of mind, because we all have days where we want the problem to be out there, don't we? You know, can't the problem just be them for today? You know, can't the problem just be outside of me for a while, and then, I don't know, in a month I could look within again? No, that's not how it works, you know? It always comes back. It always comes back to looking, what am I believing here that God is not believing? Remember, when God looks at you, God likes you, because God says, I made them. They're part of me. I wish they'd get with the program. Let's pray. So, thanks. All right, so we turn our attention inward now for a moment, just remembering that right here, the fullness and the allness of God is present. That we are surrounded and filled with God's Spirit, God's light, God's love. And so I speak this word for each and every one of us today, that there is healing, there is raising up. And we stand as open, willing, receptive vessels to God's light. A light that's everywhere, but most importantly, it's within us, right here, right now. And so I claim that healing is taking place, that we let go of what does not serve us. Thought, belief, idea, habit pattern. If it stands in the way, we just let it go. And I claim for each and every one of us that wherever we've put up a wall in front of our heart, that we dismantle that right now. That we take it down, because love is just a better way to be in the world. And so we include in our prayer our family members and our friends and loved ones. We know that right where they are, God is in its fullness. And so we know peace is there, abundance, love. We let our prayer be a blessing to our entire world. So all of those situations that pull at our attention, we affirm one power, one presence, one life, one love. We affirm that there is healing, that all needs are met, that there is peace and plenty. We bless our church. We bless all churches, everywhere, synagogues, temples, mosques, ashrams, all paths to God. And I'm certain that we are blessed by being together, that we all get raised up. And so with a full heart, I say, thank you, God, and so it is. Together we all say,